Hello, and welcome to How It's Done, a brand new podcast about how people do cool things to fuel and grow their business. It's simple. Each week, we'll have a little fireside chat with someone who is changing the game in modern marketing. I'm Christy Goad, and I'm the Chief Fire Starter at Fuoco, a marketing agency that knows when and how to ignite the spark. Listen, I'm so excited about this episode, not just because it's our very first, but because today we're talking to Mitzi Hunter and Carlen Self from Compuware, which is a Detroit-based software company that's mainstreaming the mainframe and changing the way developers develop. Compuware is the world's largest mainframe-dedicated software company, and I recently had the chance to catch up with Mitzi and Carlen in Detroit. So, without further ado, here's our conversation. Ladies, thank you so much for making the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
So before we dive deep into marketing and sales alignment, I did want to talk a little bit more about your roles and also about Compuware. Mitzi, let's start with you. You've got a very unique story that I think is almost as rare as true marketing sales alignment, and that's the story of your career and your journey with Compuware. You've spent, I believe, your entire career with Compuware. Is that right? And can you talk to us just a little bit about your career here and your role?
Sure. And you're right, Christy. It has been my whole career. I just celebrated my 35-year anniversary here at Compuware. So that is pretty unusual. Even more unusual is that the job here started with a babysitting job. I was actually babysitting for the head of sales at Compuware at the time in the summers when I was in college. And when the father of this baby learned that I was studying computer science, he offered me a job as a summer intern.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that turned into a full-time job when I graduated. I guess the moral of my story is that a babysitting job can turn into something really, really good down the road.
No kidding. I know a lot of young people that are just coming into the workforce and they're finding it very hard to find a job. So I think that kind of advice is really good for them to hear. Awesome. And Carlen, can you talk to us a little bit about, you've been with Compuware. I think you're in your third year now. Is that correct?
Yep. I just entered my third year. I came from a completely unrelated technology field. And I remember 3 years ago sitting in our CEO's Chris O'Malley's office and selling him on why I thought I could do this. And it has been everything I hoped for and more. I mean, I was looking to do something that I didn't know how to do, to kind of challenge myself, and it's been awesome. But what I got in addition was a culture that I never even dreamed existed. And I've worked for, a lot of different companies, and this is the best culturally and leadership wise. A lot of it has to do with how in lockstep everyone is with one another.
Mitzi, would you advise other people to take the path that you have taken, which is to dedicate their whole career at a company? Because that really is not something that you see so often anymore.
Gosh, you don't. It so depends on the company. And I've just been so fortunate here at Compuware to have been able to try different things. And I've been in the marketing role now for a little over 20 years. So, but for different products within the organization. So that gave me a good background. I don't think that there's a one size fits all answer to that question. Certainly people can find a path outside, working through different companies. But I think if you find a company that's a good fit for you, I would certainly advise you to stick with it, because you're just going to build stronger and stronger relationships along the way, and those are going to help carry you when you need that. Some of my best friends are here. It really is my second family. I can't imagine working anywhere else but here. So from my perspective, yes, I would definitely advise someone to stay at a company if they feel like the culture is a good fit for them and they're learning new things as they want to.
Can you talk to us? I know that it's not been that long ago that a lot of people, Gartner and others, were saying that the mainframe was dead, and that Compuware has gone through quite a renaissance. Can you talk a little bit about that, and not only how have that happened, how do you find yourself where you are today as a company?
Yeah, well, I guess I can say that we all knew Gartner and any other analyst that said the mainframe was dying was wrong. We always firmly believed that. And one of our mottos here at Compuware is the truth is on our side. So while there are still some naysayers, there are still some people who want to believe that the mainframe is a dying technology. We know from all of our interaction with our customers that's just wrong. We see our customers thriving in a mainframe environment. We see a lot of people now taking on their own digital transformations and including the mainframe in that transformations. And we see those customers really succeeding when they do decide that they need to change and transform and include the mainframe in all of their digital effort.
Well, can you talk to us a little bit more about actually how you've gone about that? Because, really what we like to dive into, and as the name of this podcast, How It's Done, suggests, is people, especially us marketers, we want to know, well, oh gosh, how did you do that? Because did you go and get the data? How did you tease those stories out of your company? How do you go and get the things that you need to tell the story and to position the company, and in your case, really reposition the company and turn that into a marketing program and a brand?
Yeah, and marketing, I think, did play a huge role in that. We really wanted to be seen as thought leaders in the space. There weren't a lot of other companies really talking about the mainframe in the way that we thought it should be talked about. Some of the larger companies have other interests, so they can't just focus primarily on mainframe software and those customers, but we could. So from a marketing perspective, number one, we really embraced social media. And I will admit that was something that was new to the company 5 years ago. A lot of people were nervous about it. They thought it could get us into a lot of trouble. But again, we knew the truth was on our side, and we were just really being proud of what we were doing. We encouraged the entire company to get involved in social media. And I think that it was useful to have me in the role that I had at the time, because a lot of the people that are here I've known for a really long time, and they trusted me to say, look, this is okay. And we even had our CEO tell the company, be open, say what you want to say in social media, and we'll clean up any mess that you make. And you know what? We've never had to clean up a mess. It's always been very respectful, but very open, and we have employees who once were doubtful that it could make a difference, really adopted it and see the value. We also got a lot more involved with any kind of traditional PR methods as well, and I think that was very useful.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit in terms of some of the other more traditional approaches that you've taken?
Yeah, well, I think that there were people that didn't think that the media would want to talk about Compuware and talk about our efforts to help customers leverage their mainframe. And in fact, I even talked to someone when we were in the process of hiring PR agency. I had someone say to me, I just don't think anyone's going to be interested. So of course we moved on and found some people who were willing to work with us and saw the value in it. And it's been wonderful. We had really great reaction from the media in covering what we have to say. Compuware, one of our really aggressive things that we did is commit to our customers that we would deliver every 90 days new software. And we have kept that commitment for the last 5 years, where it will be delivery number 19 in our next quarter. And we have people who are interested in hearing about that. So every quarter we get coverage in the media. So anyone who told us that the traditional media wouldn't care about the mainframe, they were just wrong.
So how do you go about successfully uncovering those stories that the media will be interested in? Is it helpful that you are someone that has been with this company almost from the beginning and really understands every nuance, and so you know where to go and who to talk to get some of those stories? Because I do find that a lot of my clients, that's a challenge for them, especially if maybe there's not someone within the company that is really well versed in that kind of storytelling and media relations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a combination. We do have good new technology to talk about. We also partner with a lot of other organizations. So we partner together to go to the media collectively at times. We also we incorporate surveys a lot into our content so that we have some interesting, not totally focused on Compuware messaging to talk about. So we'll at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, we will do a survey of our potential customer base, not just our customers, but anyone who owns a mainframe, to find out what challenges they have. And that always makes for very interesting storytelling as well. And then, of course, we have our own customers, and we love to tell their stories. And whenever we can connect the media with a customer, that is fantastic. It's hard to do. Anyone will tell you that is hard to do, especially when you're in our space. You're talking to some of the world's biggest companies, and they just have restrictions against that. But sometimes you do find someone who is happy to tell their story and speak to the media, and that's always very fruitful.
I'd like to dive a little bit deeper. Maybe that's a great segue to talk about how you have gone about aligning marketing and sales. And I would love it if you could describe what that means, because some people might not understand what we mean when we say aligning marketing and sales. And then I know a lot of other people talk about it, but it's a really, really hard thing to do. And I think that perhaps maybe there's even a story there about being so close to the customer or the prospective customer to also get a handle on what people are talking about, what people are interested in, and what the trends are.
Yeah, marketing has ultimately a goal of supporting the sales force. So to discount the relationship between marketing and sales, I just don't think you're ever going to be successful. And I think it all starts with respect from the top down. Here at Compuware, everyone has a job to do, and every single job is important. One of the sort of unifying themes here is that we are all very focused on our customers, and no one is closer to customers than our salespeople. So we feel like we need to listen to salespeople. We need to help them every day with their efforts. And we really need to understand where marketing and sales intersect. And that's going to be different for every business based on your sales model. But as a marketer, you need to know what your sales goals are. Is sales trying to generate, do they need new leads? Do they need a new reason to connect with people? Do they need better sales tools? Or is it, some combination of all of that? So that open communication and constantly getting feedback and asking them what's working, what's not working is really, really important.
Carlen, maybe this is where you can give the salesperson's perspective on that alignment. You've obviously worked in other companies in sales roles, and you mentioned at the start of the podcast that it's been a very different experience here at Compuware. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think traditionally what I'm used to is a marketing department that puts out customer-facing collateral. And here, it's exactly what Mitzi said. It's a very symbiotic relationship where there's constant feedback, and people are constantly not only asking me what I need, but actually listening and executing. And we also hear from them what they need. How can we help them help us? And so it's kind of that constant feedback and conversation that, I think makes a big difference.
I would love to hear you ladies talk a little bit about the actual technology platforms and tools, in addition to the social media channels that you use as part of your jobs and as part of that connection between marketing and sales and having a line of sight on how the two come together.
We use Salesforce, like most companies, to manage, and we consider Salesforce our single point of truth for our customers. From a marketing perspective, we use HubSpot to manage a lot of our landing pages. It's our marketing automation engine. A lot of analytics come out of it. We use it also for our social media analytics as well. And Carlen can talk a little bit more about, the value she gets out of some of that data. We also use Google Analytics, of course, to monitor things that we're doing more on the marketing side. And one of the newer things that we've started using as well is smart rooms, which I think is from Journey Sales. And that's something new that we are working with the field and putting together smart rooms for them to leverage.
And what are those? Talk to us a little bit about what happens in a smart room.
Well, it's interesting. There's always, there's a little bit of the traditional funnel of marketing starts a process and then sales takes over. There's so much blurring of that. And the smart rooms, what they allow us to do, which was a challenge, honestly, was we do put out a lot of content for both customers and the salespeople. And the smart room helps us focus on a particular topic. And then the sales reps can leverage those smart rooms appropriately within their accounts. It's sort of, I look at it almost as a handoff between, okay, marketing, we've helped to get the salesperson involved in an account, but we can't know that account intimately. The salesperson does. And so then they can sort of pick up where we maybe lessen up a little bit, because I don't think we ever really completely drop off, but where we lighten up a little bit, the salesperson can then move forward with what information is going to be most useful to the customer as they continue through their sales journey.
Yeah, from my perspective, the way we use smart rooms, so I think of smart rooms as a private portal on which my customer and I can collaborate, and I can also measure engagement. So if I'm working with a customer on a particular problem, and I might put content into the room. So rather than sending email, I can put content in a room. The customer has a link to that room. At their convenience, they can go in and look at the content. They can comment. They can share it with others at their organization. And what it allows me to do, though, is get that feedback. And then also, without bothering that person or bugging that person, I know how much engagement or how much activity how much time they're spending, if they actually looked at the content. And so I can gauge how interested they are. And so it helps me understand where to focus my time.
And speaking of focusing your time, salespeople don't always have time to spend on social media and may not even see the value. We talked about social media a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more about how you leverage social media specifically at Compuware, and where are those handoffs? Marketing is out there, obviously generating a lot of social media content, but then how did that translate to sales, and how are you leveraging that?
Well, I mean, I am one of the converts. So, I came to Compuware, and my experience with social media was Facebook. So, when I first came in and we were provided with kind of some promptings from marketing to tweet and to engage with our customers on LinkedIn, I was one of the people that didn't understand why, or was like, I've got customers to see. I don't have time to do this. And just through the collaboration with marketing, started to really not only understand the value, but see the value. And so I can tell you that the tools that Mitzi mentioned, HubSpot, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, which is an awesome tool that Compuware makes available to us. It's the paid version of the LinkedIn product. And now Smart Rooms, I understand how to leverage them and am able to use the measurement from those tools to understand my engagement and connecting with people on LinkedIn. One of the things that we do is really differentiate ourselves by connecting with people on LinkedIn and communicating through that method. And, it certainly starts at the top. We have an awesome, outspoken CEO that really sets the pace and path at which we're going. And marketing, what Mitzi's group has taught me is there's no wrong way to do it. And I think that's how I came in, afraid to like she said, I didn't want to do anything that I would get kind of called out for, or maybe get in trouble for saying something. But there's really, as long as you're speaking the truth, you really can't get in trouble. And so we are highly encouraged to use those platforms to send out our message. Sometimes they are our own messages. Sometimes they are messages that marketing has prepared that we can just share. Sometimes we share with our own commentary, and all of that, from a salesperson perspective, the reaction and the engagement that I get to that is what helps me measure where to go to develop my pipeline. And that is, how much more can you ask for?
One thing that I've learned recently is I think that some marketers forget that one of their jobs is to give salespeople confidence, to know that we've got their back. And so that's another aspect of our job in my team, that we always want to be there for the salespeople. If you don't have a confident sales force, you're never going to be successful. And so we try to always give them what they need, and the air cover, the foundation, whatever you want to call it, so that they feel confident in going to any customer site that they're going to have what they need to be successful.
Well, I have to ask how you do that, because that is such a challenge that I see and hear from marketers all the time. Is sales is always clamoring for stuff, and then marketing will complain that, well, we gave them stuff and they're not using it. How have you managed to strike that balance? And then I also would like to understand, is it marketing that is pushing the different tools that you've just talked about, Sales Navigator, Smart Rooms, HubSpot, Google Analytics? And then how have you also then created that full circle loop of not only you go out and do something, but then you measure it and you look at engagement and then learn from that? Because that is where I think marketers and organizations also a lot of times might fall short when trying to leverage these tools.
I think it's a two-way street. We put things out there. We communicate with the field every day. Every day we send an email saying, hey, here's some social media tips for you today. But then it's up to the salespeople to pick that up and use it. We don't stand over their shoulders and, tell them where to click. So it's a give and take where we have a good enough relationship and a close enough relationship that, I can call Carlen, anyone on my team can call Carlen and nearly just about the entire sales team and ask them a question, and we know we're going to get an honest answer. And I think it kind of gets back to that respect, and vice versa. I have, salespeople call us, they ask for things. It's hard. I really wish that we could give every sales rep, I wish we could serve them in a more personalized way. But of course that's not scalable. So we just try to create things that are reusable, things that are useful. And then we haven't done it in a while actually, but we've in the past done surveys to kind of ask, what are you using? What are you not using? I think another thing that works really well for Compuware is that the salespeople know each other very well and they support each other. They can learn from each other. We have one of the tenets of this company is town halls. We have every other week we have a whole company town hall. Almost every town hall we have a salesperson share a story about a success that they had. And it helps both the development team feel better about what we're putting out into the market, because it really helps them and boosts their confidence to know that the tools that they're working on every day are being used by our customers. And then the salespeople can learn from each other as well as to what methods worked, what didn't work. So there's a lot of collaboration across all organizations here. Carlen, I'm sure that you've got some ideas in that area as well.
It starts with the town halls. It ends with, we have quarterly business reviews where we're actually sitting in the room with each other once a quarter. And then once or twice a year, we have customer advisory councils where development is actually in the room with the customers, hearing exactly, what they want to see and what is keeping them up at night.
So as a technology company, it shouldn't be difficult for technology companies to make sure that all of these different technologies that we use to do business are actually connected and working together, talking to each other, and that we're then putting some analytics to the output of those products. But I think that is a common thing that happens with organizations too, is maybe we have Salesforce, and so our problem is solved, when in fact you really have to customize it for your needs, and you have to make sure that people are using it and engaging with it, and then that you are getting the information out of it. And then you have to make sure it is integrated with your HubSpot and the other various tools with your smart rooms. Can you, Mitzi, talk a little bit about how you have made sure that is happening and that the right analytics is happening?
Yeah, it's not easy. I will say that. I don't think there's any silver bullet for all of that. The old adage, garbage in, garbage out, is still alive and well. So just making sure that the data that goes into Salesforce is clean and up to date is something that we strive for. The HubSpot integration is something that we've been working closely with HubSpot themselves to help us make sure that we are using it in the best possible way. And we're always learning new things about it. So I think it's really just understanding that you're never going to drop something in and it's going to be done and you can walk away and have wonderful analytics every day. It's not like that. It is something that you have to look after every day, constantly make sure that you're looking at the data right. And also, I think it's something from a marketing perspective, it's not black and white. You always have to be careful when you look at the data to make sure that you're not making an assumption about something that isn't true. So it's a lot of it is just common sense, and making sure that you are looking at the data for what it is. And then if something doesn't seem right, it's probably not right. If you get a result back that says this is too good to be true, it was probably too good to be true and something's wrong with your analytics. And same otherwise. If you get something back that it looks like, oh my gosh, that was so out of the realm of what I thought it would be, you probably are looking at the data incorrectly or measuring wrong. So it's very important to make sure that all those systems are aligned, that you are in tune with the data and are careful not to make any assumptions that aren't true, and just constantly improving, constantly looking at ways to look at the data, make sure it's right, and then how can I improve?
So I think the marketing organization, the marketing team or department or whatever you want to call it within an organization sometimes can get frustrated because they feel like they are an afterthought rather than having a seat at the table. It sounds like you very much have a seat at the table here at Compuware. And what is the key for that for other people that are really trying to make sure that they have a seat at the table too and are really helping drive that, get in front of the business and drive that innovation?
Well, I think it does get back to that mutual respect in knowing that marketing is really important, but it's not everything. It takes an entire company to work together and respect everyone's roles and understand how can marketing help sales be better? How can sales help marketing be better? How can marketing interact with development and product management and finance and all different aspects of the company? Just understanding that you are important, but you're equally important to every organization in the company.
And speaking of that, also a lot of marketers struggle with marketing is so front and center so often, and it's so easy for people to see that you also have to have a thick skin because everybody's an expert.
That is so true.
Well, and I know that Chris often quotes Jeff Bezos when he talks about being passionate explorers that really celebrate the fact that customers are beautifully and wonderfully dissatisfied. And I'm curious how that mindset impacts or changes your approach to marketing.
Yeah, so of course it has a lot to do with the pure development side of things, where we work in lockstep with our customers and try to only give them things that they're going to find useful. But from a marketing perspective, it has a special meaning, I think, because like you said, everyone has an opinion about marketing. Everyone can say, I like this, or I didn't like that, or hey, do you know what would be better? And we get a ton of ideas. We get a lot of criticism, but we also get a lot of when people are telling us that they think that we did something good. So it does go both ways, but you have to have really tough skin. You have to be able to listen to the good and the bad and know that all of these criticisms are gifts, and that there's always room for improvement. It's hard when it's something that is considered more of an art. If someone criticizes your painting, it's always hard to take. So if it's something that's a criticism around creative, you just have to have a tough skin, and you also have to have a lot of confidence and know that you can't please everyone, and that sometimes you just have to make a decision and go with it. Some people might resonate with a message. Some people might not. Some people might love an image. Some people might hate it. But you have to just have a firm understanding and core belief in what you're doing. And, the other side of that is just ideas. You get ideas from everything, from everyone. Hey, it would be great. Could you guys do this? And,
how do you handle that? Do you have an idea box in your office?
No, we have email, and, you get a lot of emails and, hey, Mitzi, I had this idea. And sometimes they're really bad ideas, and you just have to be able to say, this isn't going to work because of this. Or sometimes they're really good ideas, and then you just have to prioritize. And I guess one of the things that I always try to ask myself when someone says, hey, I have an idea, and that's both inside my organization and outside my organization, but you have to ask, how is this going to help our customers, or how is this going to help the sales force? Because we really do serve two sets of customers, our actual end users of the tools that we sell, and then the sales force themselves. And really the whole company is our customer, because we're not just creating sales materials, but we're creating corporate support materials as well. So we really do serve a lot of different organizations. And if what we're working on doesn't help in some way, doesn't help the sales force or help our customers better leverage our tools, then it's probably something that's going to be at the bottom of the list.
And has marketing played a big role in just the fact that your own organization really had to go through, the buzzword these days is digital transformation, but it is true that you have to really change a lot. You have to change mindsets. You have to change hearts. You have to change focus. How active and involved was marketing in that for Compuware internally?
Well, we those quarterly launches that I referenced earlier, as far as delivering new software every quarter, that's a huge marketing effort every quarter. And we've got it somewhat down to a science now so that we can support that. We support that with announcements to our customers. We support it with announcements to the field, our internal customers. We create new materials to support whatever new messaging we have coming out. I think one of the challenges was, in the past, marketing would maybe put out a plan for 6 months or a year. Well, that's just not something that works today. We plan out quarterly. Sometimes things change monthly, and we just need to be able to react, try new things, measure outcomes, ask for feedback, learn from that, improve. So it's structuring an organization that has some defined roles, because you have to have some, I think, definitions of your role, but you also have to be flexible enough that you can pivot quickly if you need to support the organization.
So you really are taking an agile approach to marketing as well.
We are. We totally are. We don't do have Scrum stand-up meetings, every day with Post-it notes. We don't do that, but I would say we definitely have to be ready to adjust to whatever those changes are that are coming our way, and be flexible so that we can move quickly. And if we need to try out a new idea, we need to know how to do that so that we can learn from it quickly and either fail fast and improve, pick up, move on, or find that something that we did works and do more of it.
So Mitzi, Compuware launched its own podcast earlier this year. Podcasting has become such a sensation these days. What are some of the decision points that you had in saying, well, sure, let's dip our toe in this podcasting water? And what would you recommend other marketing folks as they are considering launching a podcast for their own companies?
Well, I think you need to, again, put your customers first. Try to understand what is it that they need from you, not what do you want to tell them. So if you can put together I would try to map out, a rough sketch of what that content would look like. It has to have some regularity. It doesn't need to be every day, but I think you need to, feel confident that you've got enough content to keep top of mind with people. But just really put your customers first and think about what is it they need more help in understanding. And then there's other mediums as well. Like you said, Christy, podcasting and listening to podcasts has really taken off in these last couple of years. And so everyone learns differently. Some people want to read, some people want to watch, some people want to listen. So it's another great way of having multimedia approach and leveraging your content in other ways. So you might be able to create one blog, and from that blog, you're going to then, create a podcast or a white paper or web content. So really it's a great way of leveraging what work that you're already doing into a new format so that your customers then have a choice of how they want to consume your information.
Awesome. Well, ladies, I thank you for your time today. We've covered an awful lot of ground, and I like to end on something a little less serious. We've talked about a lot of serious topics today, but I did challenge you guys to think about coming into this a couple of fun questions. One, tell us what your superpower is, or if you could have a superpower, what would that be? Mitzi, let's start with you.
Well, I'm going to answer that both ways. I think one of the things that I feel like I am good at is just cutting through BS and building consensus. So I think that is, if I thought I owned a superpower, I think that's what I'm pretty good at. What I wish my superpower was speed reading. There's so much to read and so much that I think I could learn if I could read everything I wanted to read. So that would be my superpower that I wish I had.
What about you, Carlen?
I think that my superpower is probably fearlessness.
Ah, I like it. That's a good superpower to have as a salesperson.
Yeah.
And what about your most useless talent?
I gave this a lot of thought, and I can't think of anything that I don't have that I don't use.
Oh, spoken like a true salesperson too. I love it. Mitzi, we should not be surprised by that.
No, we shouldn't. I totally agree with that. But I think I do have a useless talent. I can do the Charleston.
Nice. Maybe we can see that at a town hall soon.
I don't think so.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time. You've shared so much great information with us, and hopefully folks listening to this podcast will have a much better sense of how it's done here at Compuware. So thank you very much. Hope you all have a great weekend.
Thanks, Christy.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Christy here again. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. There's even more great content from my conversation with Mitzi and Carlen on our website. Check it out on our blog, which you can find at growwithfloco.com. That's grow with FUOCO.com. We're really looking forward to keeping great conversations coming your way as we grow this podcast. But we can't do it without you, so thank you. Until next time.